This is Linda Kane Hubbard from Artists for a Better World, and I'm here talking with Peter Driscoll, and he happens to be the founder of Hollywood Happiness Renaissance, and it's a nonprofit. So Peter, tell me a little bit about this. It sounds real interesting.
Yeah, so let me tell you how it all started. That's probably a good starting point is, so I kind of lived on and off in Los Angeles for around about 10 or 15 years.
Okay.
And I was driving through the streets of Los Angeles recently and just noticed that there'd been a decline in the living standard in LA. Like, I think the correct term for it is urban decay.
Yes.
And I sort of thought, wow, I don't know if I want to live in Los Angeles, and particularly in Hollywood. I was living in Hollywood. I don't want to live here anymore. It seems to be kind of like falling to pieces a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then one Saturday, I was invited to go out on like a street cleanup. Mm-hmm. So this group, they got me to come and help them with their street cleanup.
Right.
And it was in doing that street cleanup, like I spent about 3 hours just, like picking up trash and broken bottles and pulling weeds out of the sidewalk and that kind of stuff. And at the end of that 3 hours, I looked back at the area that we'd cleaned up and I had just like a feeling of accomplishment. Like I could see, because of a lot of the stuff I do in my kind of work life is not like physical labor type stuff, and a lot of it's very conceptual, but here I'd done something, and at the end of that period I could see exactly what I'd accomplished. Like it went from trash, broken glass, weeds to a really clean street.
Yeah, that's great. Like the physical universe.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. And so like I said, that gave me this kind of feeling of accomplishment, and I kind of looked back at it and I thought, you know what? Maybe there is something I can do about this situation. Like, maybe there is. And then soon after that, the group who asked me to join them, they asked me, could I help them expand what they were doing?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I kind of went away and had a bit of a think about, what I could contribute, what they were doing, how it would all tie together. And I did want to help.
Yeah.
My initial thought was, cleaning the street is okay, but really that kind of only is going to improve conditions to a certain point, all right? And really, that's actually the job of the council. That's not, even though it's great that citizens like myself and others get involved in that, that is actually somebody else's job that they should be doing, and at a point in time, they will actually do that more effectively than what's currently occurring in a city like Los Angeles.
Right.
So then I started thinking, okay, how can we expand in a way that's going to be a little bit inspiring as well? Mm-hmm. And then I thought about, okay, let's come up with, and this is kind of how I'd been successful in things in the past, is just think, okay, where are we at? Ideally, where would we like to go to?
Perfect. Yeah.
And then what can we create to get us there? So in my thinking, I came up with 5 different programs that we would implement, and I didn't know if they'd be successful or well received or not successful or whatever. But the 5 programs then were, we were going to do a gardening program. We were going to do a neighborhood festivals program.
Beautiful.
Yep, we're going to do an art program. Great. We were going to continue with our urban cleanups and street cleanups. Mm-hmm. And we're also going to get out into some of the natural environments like beaches and parks and rivers and do some rehabilitation in those areas. Excellent. Yeah, so I thought, okay, they're the 5 areas, so that'll get us expanding what's going on there. And there's enough variation that it'll attract a number of different people or groups of people who will want to be involved in like some of that, with the idea that we have this group that's kind of marching forward with this common desire to improve the landscape around them. Mm-hmm. And with that becomes an improvement of living conditions for everybody.
That's right.
Like it's from the stuff we do, the very rich benefit, the very poor benefit, and everybody in between benefits. Right. There's nobody who loses in what we're doing. So then I started mapping out how those programs would work. And then I actually wrote out, I think one of the reasons I've been successful in business in a way is I read this thing a few years ago about how Japanese companies would write 50-year business plans. And most people are kind of thinking, how am I going to pay rent this week? Or how will I get to the end of the month? Or I hope I have a good year. And I really like this idea of taking a longer term strategy, because then when things are going not so good, you've got a long time to correct that situation.
That's right.
But it also, when things are going good, you don't get too carried away with it. You can stay on a more kind of like a level and expansive playing field. Right. So I wrote out, for this group, I wrote out a 10-year plan. And the 10-year plan involved expanding those projects we were doing and expanding into other locations. And I kind of wrote out how many people I wanted involved, how many groups, how many countries, and all this kind of stuff.
What countries did you want to expand into?
Everyone, all countries.
Good. And starting at a gradient.
Yeah, so I started off on the groups side of things. I started off in Hollywood.
Right.
And then I wanted to get to the point where we had 7 groups in California, or I think 7 groups in California by the end of the first year. But what's happened in this first year, we've gone beyond that. Like, we got to the 7 groups pretty quickly. They're not all doing all of the projects, but each group's doing some of the projects. But we've got somebody in Italy has contacted me, so I'm starting to hat them on how we'll get rolling in Italy. Like, somebody in Phoenix, Arizona has contacted me, so we're helping them getting started with some of the stuff we're doing out there as well. So that was kind of the expand. And as I say, with the different programs, where, like, take for example the gardening program, we pulled in a guy who's an expert in building gardens that attract butterflies into cities.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, so we've built gardens, and I mean, the effect that little insect has on people is phenomenal.
Oh, people love butterflies.
People love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we built this garden, and butterflies started flocking into this area of Hollywood. Right. And I'm getting phone calls from people going, that garden you built, it is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Every time I walk past it, there's a butterfly coming to visit me. And I couldn't believe how excited people were. Right. So we've also, in that gardening program, we've worked out how to build gardens that attract hummingbirds as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Everybody loves the hummingbird.
Yeah, so we've got one location that we've identified where we're going to actually, it's a reasonable sized piece of property. We're going to build 15 gardens that have plants that will attract butterflies and hummingbirds. So it'll become then a habitat for butterflies. So could you imagine like a place just swarming with butterflies and hummingbirds, how exciting that will be to visit?
That would be great.
Yeah.
It's such a great idea, because to attract them that much attention, people are starting to think, oh, wow, we can get outside now. We can go outside. We should be outside. We should look at some beauty rather than, shut down. Yeah. And so it's great right now.
Yeah. Like, somebody once asked me, how would you best describe your organization? And I said, the best way to think of it is, I'm the opposite of COVID. Right? Because what I am is, my group and the people I'm involved with and what we're doing, it's kind of spreading like a virus. It's spreading very fast. One person's telling another. I'm getting new ideas come in all the time from people wanting to do things. So it's spreading at the speed of something like that. Right. But it's the exact opposite, because all it does is make people feel good.
Right.
So there's nothing we do that anybody will feel bad about. It's it's art, it's gardens, it's cleaning things up, it's, rehabilitating nature, it's getting people together in groups, Right. Even on that path, on the festivals path, we're at the moment, we're in the planning stages of a major film festival in Hollywood.
I love it, because there are some things going on in Hollywood before and people were not very happy with.
Yeah, that's right.
Now you can change that.
Yeah, and I mean, inside our film festival, there's a couple of categories in the festival that kind of illustrate what we're about as well. Like that film festival, it'll have like the usual film festival juries that'll award best film, best
like
director.
Sundance.
Sundance. Like I kind of basing it roughly on, because I've spent a lot of time in France, so
right,
and
the Cannes show.
Yeah, yes. The Cannes Film Festival. So I'm kind of using that as a bit of an inspiration, because I have so much fun when I go to the Cannes Film Festival that I want to kind of like spread the love around a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
We need some good programs too. We need some incredible films.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like what the Dream Team directors told me about what they're doing in documentaries.
Right. Yeah.
Just getting out there, and that's very, very important.
Yeah.
Very needed.
Yeah, and I mean, like as I said, like a few we have categories that nobody else would have those categories at their film festivals. So one is obviously, Linda, you'd be aware of the book The Way to Happiness.
Yes.
So we have one category is the film that best illustrates one of the chapters from that book, The Way to Happiness.
Great.
They'll be awarded a prize.
Great.
So what that does is it gets people building and creating and developing films that are then about happiness.
Right.
Right? Because, I mean, there's films made about all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
There's not an oversupply of ones made about things that make people happy.
No, in fact, if you go on Netflix, I was trying to find a decent film for kids too.
Yeah.
And it's like Disney has some, but then not too many other places.
No, that's right. That's right. And even with those films, they're kind of written to that dual audience if they're written to appeal to kids with a story that can appeal to adults as well.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we're actually making instead of making cartoons or, that fantasy thing, they're a little bit real to life type films as well. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So as I say, the one that most closely hits the note on one of the chapters will win a prize.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, like one of the other ones is we've got a category is the one that makes the biggest contribution to the area of human rights. They'll win a prize as well.
Great. Excellent.
Yeah, so it's a different kind of film festival. It's all geared towards creating more happiness, like the Renaissance of happiness. That's what it is. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's kind of the film festival. I mean, what we're doing inside the art program is we started off just. Did you want to ask a question?
No.
No. Yeah.
I'm listening.
Okay. Yeah. So we started off with the art program. We rehabilitated an existing mural in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
So we raised the money. We organised the artists. We got the community together.
Right.
So there was people just coming down, and you'd hand them a paintbrush and go, I want some blue over there or some purple over there. There's everything from that to some fine artists coming down and, putting the more delicate sort of stuff together.
Right.
And, I mean, this was I've always had a strong interest in art, but this was a particularly good area of what we'd created for me personally because my daughter, she graduated from Harvard University with a major in art history.
Oh, good.
And she's an artist.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What does she do? Does she paint? Or
she draws and paints.
Draws and paints. That's what I do.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And she teaches people how to paint and draw.
Oh, that's great.
So she teaches me.
She teaches you.
Yeah.
Is that her only student?
Yes. Yeah. It wasn't a case of
No, she probably teaches you probably learned a lot.
Oh, tremendously. Like it wasn't a case of there's that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
That's right.
This is more a case of the student needs help now. So I wanted to spend more time with my daughter and doing something that she liked doing. So then I contacted her and said, hey, will you teach me how to draw and paint? So then we sat down, and now every Sunday pretty much we go somewhere together for a few hours and pick something to either draw or paint.
Oh, outside, like plein air?
Yeah, so it can be anything like a streetscape to, we did in Griffith Park in Los Angeles, we went to the merry-go-round there, the old carousel.
Oh, yeah.
We drew all that kind of stuff out. Then I moved on to, we'd still go outside, but I started doing drawings of portraits.
Right.
And I think I showed you my photos from my trip to Africa.
Yes, great photography.
Thank you.
The animals, beautiful.
Yeah,
You
they're
don't see
alive,
them.
aren't
Yeah.
they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm drawing the photographs I took.
Good.
Yeah. So she's
Good.
teaching me how to, like, particularly, like shading and just simple, the stuff that you think is simple if you don't do it, but how to draw grass properly.
Yeah, or even the horizon line and
The
how to make
horizon
things
lines?
look like they go. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. There's a whole technology.
Yeah.
The old masters had it down.
Yeah, yeah. So she's teaching that technology.
Right.
It's a great way for us to connect. But coming back to the Hollywood Happiness Renaissance is inside our mural program, my daughter Tiffany has designed one of the murals that we're going to create.
Great.
Yeah, so it's been a great way to get her involved in that. We've got the site selected. We've completed the design. And I kind of think it's going to be so cool that soon she'll be driving down the streets of Hollywood with her friends and go, that's my design up there on a wall, like that's me up there on that wall.
Right, instead of like the billboards down a Sunset or something, they're just advertising some product.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that.
And the design she's done, it's a really beautiful design. It looks really terrific. It's going to be great. And, to get her down there painting it. And
right.
so, yeah, I mean, that's a kind of great project there.
Right.
And then, I mean, we've worked on, it's funny, like I'm kind of out there putting it out there going, hey, we've got a group of people who are willing to help. Mm-hmm. That group is growing. And then we'll get requests from other groups.
Right.
So, I mean.
We have a lot of artists and a lot of painters and Artists for a Better World.
Yeah,
right. Be happy to help. Yeah. And also, what kinds of things are you doing it on the sides of buildings? Are you doing it on some restaurant inside? They need paintings, or how are you doing it?
Yeah, so what we've got at the moment is we did one on a wall that backed onto one of the freeways.
Right.
So it's a big...
Great, and you can't miss it.
You can't miss it. The next lot we're doing, one's in a car park of like one of those food franchises. Mm-hmm. So they have a big, long brick wall in there that it's kind of like the fence that separates them from the next property.
Okay.
So we'll be doing a big one along there. Another one is on the one my daughter did is on the side of it's a corner block, and the whole side of the building, it's a florist. So we're going to do her thing is a big flower arrangement that will be very prominent there.
Great.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff. Really cool. But inside my head, I've got other ideas that I want to get out there as well.
So let's grab those ideas.
Yeah, well, I'm fortunate in a way in that I've met a couple of really great artists, like very successful and on a global scale. Mm-hmm. And they've shown me, this particular guy, he showed me his the concept he came up for the city of Los Angeles. And it is one of the most mind-blowing things I've seen. Yeah.
A whole city.
Yeah. So
that's all for artists.
Yeah. I mean, the city itself, if we could get it built, it is just... Los Angeles would become like the center of the world if this city was built. It would be like artistically... functionally, it would just make it just in another world.
That would be, yes, it's perfect as long as they have people that are running it that are really honest and really out for the good of all.
Yeah, definitely.
Rather than just making money,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
but
this guy
will make money.
Yeah, this guy's that's not his motivation.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what we need.
Yeah, his motivation is the creation of art.
The motivation. Yeah, what's the purpose of someone?
Yeah.
Well, an artist, their purpose is to make the art so that they can give it back to people, create some happiness, warmth, people laugh, smile, or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you have that in place, then
so I kind of like, the future expansion, I think there's a number of ways, like we can keep bringing more people in and doing more of what we're already doing, which is all great stuff.
Right.
We can, in a city like Los Angeles, we need a lot of people to get Los Angeles to where it could be. There's a place where Los Angeles could be, which is very different to what it currently is.
Right.
It's a great city. Los Angeles is a great place to live. But it's so kind of like, what's the right word I'm looking for? The potential hasn't been realized. If people kind of came together and put energy and focus onto creating, like rehabilitating parks and rivers and creating artwork and getting together in festivals and planting gardens. Like if energy and effort was put into that, as opposed to many other things that people currently put their energy and effort into, it could be just a phenomenal place. It's a great place already, but it could be truly phenomenal.
I totally agree because there's people leaving California.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
And they're going to other states.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've got the perfect weather, but also it just needs to be rehabilitated.
That's right. Yeah. So that's why the word Renaissance is in there.
Yes.
It's about bringing it back to life. It's not that it hasn't got it. It's already existing. But what we could do as a group is bring that back to life, like put energy into...
I'm all for that.
Yeah,
when I was in Firenze, in Florence, in Italy, and studied all of the great Renaissance artists, I mean, that they had a patron of the saints, the patron of the arts, the Medici family. And then they brought in more than just painters. They brought in sculptors. They brought in astronomers, mathematicians. You have a whole series of people that were way ahead of their time and really bright people.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm thinking as well. Like, I kind of think, we're starting with kind of...
what we have.
Yeah, what we have and what I know will be acceptable and what will work.
Right.
But I also see the opportunity there to create, and I mean, I've spent time in Florence myself, so I know what you're talking about. It needs, it's interesting. I really like, in a way, people who have odd ideas about things.
Or they're a little odd.
Well, sometimes I find with people who have these odd ideas, they're often in a situation where their ideas are crushed. Somebody will tell them that's stupid or you shouldn't think that or shouldn't do that.
Oh, we run into that. We even teach that on our seminars and our webinars. Artists think that they lose their confidence, that they can't get their art out and they don't know how to put it online or whatever. And they always used to go to festivals and now they're shut down and blah, blah, blah. So they lose their real kind of oomph to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get that back.
Yeah. That's super important too, because I mean, that's where, there would have been a stage where even somebody like Pablo Picasso, somebody would said, that doesn't look like a woman,
right.
And he's painted something that is just an absolute masterpiece. Or, like somebody like Van Gogh, somebody would have walked along
Leonardo.
and said, there's just too many brushstrokes in that.
Leonardo, what are you doing with this man with so many legs and arms?
Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
That's right.
Yeah.
There'd always be some critic.
Yeah, and it's the artist by actually expressing that kind of, for want of a better word, oddness or the difference, that actually something better comes.
Yes.
Right? Otherwise, if we don't get that voice out there, we're just going to get the same as we've always got, like a very homogenized society. But if the artist can get that little bit, I guess what I'm saying in a way, or encouraging people to do is that eccentricity or oddness or unusual idea you've got, that's where the gold lies.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you think of people like Elon Musk and some of the great thinkers in our society right now, and they love the arts.
Yeah,
and a lot of the artists, they need some help right now.
That's
they need
right.
to be uplifted into where they can create those beautiful things.
Yeah, well, like I was saying before, one of the key things with artists, and that's everybody from, like a musician to a painter to a drawer to an actor, everybody who's got some sort of artistic flair.
Right.
One of the key things that's going to help you be successful, ultimately it's going to be up to you to do it.
That's right.
But if you can surround yourself with people who support you in what your craft is, it's going to be rocket fuel for you. If you're surrounded by people who are telling you you've got stupid ideas or you shouldn't do what you're doing or you should get a real job or whatever their version of that is, it's going to squash you. It's going to squash your artwork. Now, for you to really create, You need to get around people who are going to put that booster to you, and that's where your career will really take off, and you'll really be able to produce.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Thank you. So Peter is a businessman that owns several companies and has a lot of ideas of other things too. And I want Peter to tell you all about his companies.
Okay, yeah. So probably the best way to start this conversation, Linda, is I operate in kind of like two broad areas. Mm-hmm. One is an area that is very much just focused on making money.
Okay.
And the other is then in an area that's very much in like the things that I'm interested in.
Right.
And I think it's a struggle for a lot of people at times. Like they get very interested in something, but they're not going to make any money out of it, or it's going to be a long time before they make money out of it. You know, they've got to establish a reputation or produce works that people like enjoy and will pay money for.
Right.
And then they've got to have a job while they're doing that. So I kind of went a little bit different. Instead of getting a job, I started just creating businesses that I knew would make money. And the two things I was doing as an individual, I just expanded those out. Okay. So, and they're at kind of opposite ends of the spectrum in that one of the things is I'm qualified as an accountant.
Okay. My brother is too.
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
I understand it totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I work as an actor.
Ah.
So an accountant and an actor, they're two very different things. Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. So what I did in the accounting world, so I was back in Australia and I started off, and I should actually, it's quite an interesting story. I'll tell you how I first established that business.
Sure.
So I didn't want to work in it. I'd had enough of working as an accountant, but I realized that by doing people's taxes, I was going to make some money. Like it was guaranteed. They had to pay me or I wasn't going to do it. So it was guaranteed if I did that work, I was going to make some money out of it. That's so right. Even though I had a great reluctance to do it because I'd done it for a number of years, I thought I'm going to do it just to make the money. You know, it's still an ethical thing. So I did two things. The first thing I did was on my home computer, I designed a little brochure. And the brochure was on like an A4 size paper. Okay. It would cut into 4 little brochures.
Right.
And it just had on there, it had a quote from somebody I'd helped with their tax, right. One of my clients.
A testimonial.
Testimonial.
Yes.
And then it had in big bold, are you happy with your accountant?
Good. Asking a question. Those are the two things I tell my clients.
Okay, yes, it had the testimonial, then the question, and then my contact details. And at this stage, I didn't have any companies or anything, so it just had my own personal Hotmail address.
Okay.
And my phone number.
Okay.
So I printed out, I think it was 100 of those, and I put them into letterboxes in my neighborhood. Then the second thing I did was I got my phone and I went through my phone contacts list and I called everybody in my phone contacts list and asked them, did they need any tax work done? And pretty much all of them said no. Okay. But there's a couple of good effects came out of that. One was I didn't skip over any name. Right. So even if I came to a name and I thought, oh, I don't want to call that person or I owe that person $100 or whatever, I got in communication with every person.
So
what that did, it had just expanded my world a little bit. Instead of backing off from contacting people,
right.
I was now in contact with a couple of hundred people. Even though most of them said no, I said to them, if you know of anybody or if in the future you need me, you have my number now, so get in contact with me.
Referrals. Yeah.
So one day as I was making these calls to all these people, somebody had picked up my brochure and he called me. So I had this guy call me and say, hey, I picked up your brochure in my letterbox. I have a bit of a tax problem. I don't like my accountant. Can you come and see me and help me?
Good.
Yeah, and I thought, okay, well, I don't really want to because I don't like doing this work. I have other stuff I want to do, but I need the money, so I'm going to go see this guy.
Good.
So he gave me his address in the city in Sydney. Okay. And I drove into where his office was and parked my car, walked up to his building, and then on the side of the building, I saw just one word, and that word was Google. So I didn't know before I got there, but he was one of the senior executives at Google.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's the right person to talk to.
this is a good person for me to be talking to.
Yes.
So I went in there and I explained to him, well, I listened to what he needed,
Right.
and then I explained how I could help, and then I helped him with it.
Good.
So as I was, like, he obviously paid me. As I was helping him, then some of these other people I'd started phoning were starting to pop up and say, hey, look, my friend needs some help. Can you help them? And
Right.
the Google guy, he called me and he said, we have 6 senior executives who have the same issues I have. Would you mind coming in and doing a boardroom pitch to these 6 senior executives?
Wow.
So I went in there and did the pitch, and 5 of them jumped on board as clients straight away.
Great.
So all of a
Must have
sudden,
been a good pitch.
yeah, it was a good pitch. So all of it, and he had already obviously pitched me to them. Yeah. So so I came out of that meeting with, work flowing in from here and work flowing in from here.
Right.
And then I thought to myself, how can I expand this business? And one of the things I realized in Australia is there's a certain type of real estate, if you structure it properly, you can save on taxes. So you make money out of the real estate, but you also save on taxes at the same time.
Oh, good.
So I found somebody who had that kind of real estate. And I said, hey, look, if I can bring you people to buy the real estate, would you share your commission on the real estate with me? So he said, yeah, of course, I'll do that for sure. So I went back to my guy at Google, and then a couple of the guys at Google bought real estate from me.
Wow.
Yeah. So what happened?
Wow.
Yeah. What happened then was I made some pretty good commissions on that real estate. Like I think it was like $15,000 per sale we did. And I took that money, and then the brochures that I've been printing up and putting in the letterboxes that this guy first found,
Right.
I already knew that they worked.
Right.
So I took that money, and then I went to a printing company, and I said, I want you to print me 100,000 of these a week. So then they started printing 100,000 of these brochures a week, and then I hired a company to do the delivery of them. And then I got this influx of work because the brochures were pretty effective. So then I started having to hire other accountants.
Right.
So now we don't actually, those brochures no longer work. People don't sort of pick things up out of the letterbox like they once did.
Mostly it's online, yes.
Yeah. So now what we've created out of that business, what we created was like a machine almost, where I took the money and then I hired marketing people. So now I have a number of people working in my marketing division. I have a team of accountants. We offer in Australia a number of different types of real estate that people can buy.
Okay.
We've also expanded the real estate to America. So we help people buy real estate in America as well, certain types of real estate.
What type is?
So we specialize in the multifamily apartment area.
Okay.
So we bring people together who want to invest into buying multifamily apartments. Yeah. And it's not just people from America investing with us. We've got people from Canada, Hong Kong, Europe, Australia. So there's people from everywhere, coming together and forming syndicates, and we're buying buildings in America. Also, with that business, what I did was I thought if we're going to be doing the real estate transactions, most people who buy real estate need to borrow money, like they need to get a mortgage.
Absolutely, yeah.
So then I brought on a team of finance brokers, and we do all the lending now as well.
So you get it both ways.
Well, not only that, not only that is once we brought them on through the lending, we'd look at what other loans they had as well. So if they had car loans, or they wanted to buy a boat or a business or anything else. So we started doing all the loans. And then most people who get a loan need some insurance. So then I brought in insurance brokers into my team as well.
Right.
So my idea was I'm going to build a community of people and help them get wealthier. How we're going to do it initially is they're going to come in they came in needing their taxes done, but then they invest in real estate, but we help them with loans, we help them with insurances. So it can be one person comes in, and this has happened quite a bit, where one person will come in, they'll pay us maybe $200 to get their annual taxes done. Then I had this happen just recently. A guy bought 3 properties from us. He also, and that was about, all up in real estate, he bought about, I think it was $6 million worth of real estate. So we wrote all the loans for that, and we wrote all the insurance for it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that $200 entry point
Mm-hmm.
then led to about $100,000 in fees from real estate, lending, insurances.
And it goes on for, yeah.
And now, where it was originally they'd come in on the tax line and then we'd help them with these other things.
Exactly.
Now they're coming in on all lines and we're servicing them with all products and services. And it's not like, and the interesting thing with it is, you would think with all of this activity that I would be too busy to do anything.
Yes.
I actually have less to do now than when I started.
You've got good people that you hire.
I've got a fantastic team of people. They're highly motivated, highly incentivized. So if I win, they win. If they win, I win. We're all, on the same page with it.
Exactly.
And so that business has grown from basically me doing a single printout on my computer.
Promo.
And making some phone calls to now a multi-million-dollar business spread across, it basically has clients across the globe, and it has projects going across the globe as well. And it's continuing to grow. Like, the interesting thing that we're doing in that business now is, instead of, like, we're continuing to improve our marketing and our reach on everything we're doing, but now I think in July of this year, I had a look at it. We were getting about 500 inquiries a week. Mm-hmm. But now what I'm doing is, because the business is generating a lot more cash, and the banks like what I'm doing, they're going to lend me the money to go and buy other businesses. So instead of getting 500 clients at a time, we'll get 5,000, or I'm looking at one at the moment where I'll pick up 25,000 clients in one go.
Right. And
then we'll be able to, the tax, the property, the insurance, the lending. So we'll be able to do all of that for them. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's my main kind of money businesses. Mm-hmm. So as I said, it's spread out between, there's an accounting business, there's a finance business, an insurance business, and then a real estate business, which is in America as well. I
understand.
Yeah. Okay.
You're diversified.
Yeah. And then the other hat that I spoke about was the accounting. So, not the accounting, sorry, the acting.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So
you're acting during all that, too.
Yeah, well, the thing is with that, like, it's funny with that, because I do a lot of promo stuff for that.
Okay.
I sit down at the start of each week and plan out what my...
You do a little video or do a podcast or something?
So I do 3 short videos a day.
Perfect.
And then I put them across my marketing team then blasts them out. Now, it's funny, even a short video, like I did one last week, where I said, hey, if you are wanting to invest in real estate and you've already started and you don't know how to get to the next step, or you haven't started and you want to start.
That's a lot of people.
Just get in touch with me and I'll have a chat to you, and I might be able to help you, and my team are experts, they'll help you. The very next day, I had a guy call me. He's now buying a property from us. That one video generated $20,000 income for me,
There you go. You keep statistics.
Yeah. And it's not that I had to do too much extra work, because all he does is he sends me an email. I call him. I spend about 15 minutes on the phone with him, and I say, look, the right person for you to talk to is Steve. If you need a loan, you need to talk to Greg.
Now I want to talk to Steve.
Yeah. On the taxes, you need to talk to Maria. So that person comes in. These people are well-hatted on what they should do. Right. And then I can just get on with doing the stuff I like doing. And they're working hard, creating good product there.
So you've created the organization so that it flows. And a lot of people, they get hung up because they hire some people and maybe someone doesn't work out, or they kind of cause problems within the business. That's what mostly happens, that I find in businesses when they're not doing well. Yeah. There's some, like, what do you call it? Some hidden things going on that are not honest. And that person is causing trouble with some of the other staff, and then it starts to snowball, and it's hard to control that. Yeah, that's so true. And there's a word you used before, which is key in what we do, and that's statistics. Right. So everybody who works, so
there's a rule that I have, and that is, if you can't staticize the job, don't hire the person.
Right.
Because then from day one, they know what they're expected to produce.
Exactly.
They don't go off doing anything other than, they're very focused on, I need to produce this. And then at the end of each week, each member of my team sends me a graph saying, this is what I've done for this week. My graph's going up or my graph's going down. And then they actually, we have some formulas we apply. Once they apply those formulas, they tell me how they're going to get the graph going back up.
Right.
So they're kind of self-regulating within our system. Everybody self-regulates so that everybody is always focused on, we call it, we're in this spiral of affluence power. So we go up,
Yes.
we stabilize for a while, and then we go up again.
Most people, when they go up, the key things is they blow it at the affluence stage.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So how do you handle that?
Well, I mean, like I said, we've got like defined actions we take, and like it's a really good thing that you say there is some people sometimes they'll have a bit of a win,
Right.
and they'll go and blow it on a new car or a boat or this or the holiday or that or whatever because they've been hanging out to have that for a long time.
Right.
So the way we work with people is, hey, we're going to create that so you're having those things in your life all of the time.
I love that. I love that. More people need that. Because they can keep going at what pace they're going and also do the things they know are right, but also be relieved because they're going to get some of the wins out of being able to buy something new shortly or whenever it gets up to a certain point or whatever. Because a lot of people will just, well, now it's Christmas, so there's all kind of instant buy this and that and go overboard. And
and everybody who works with us, there's nobody who's working with us is thinking, I'm going to get this done, make this money, and then take off. They all know that if we stay together and keep working as an organization, that everybody's going to prosper in it, and they're all prospering. Like I've got plans in my head. Everybody who works for me, I'm constantly looking at them and go, okay, you've learnt these skills and perfected them. How can I now get you up to that next level where you're making more money, you can learn new stuff, and I bring in outside people to teach the skills that my people, because I want my people winning. Like I want them to have it.
Absolutely. My company too for trend creators. I have some people with me for 20 years.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I know. It's like you want to help them. You want to also see them do well as you're doing well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so that's, as I said, that's kind of my main money businesses.
Yes.
Then I was interested in and working as an actor. And then I started creating some businesses around that activity. And it first started off was I wanted to get on this television show in Australia. There's kind of 2 TV shows in Australia that all the stars come through.
Oh, what is it?
So there's one in Melbourne called Neighbours.
Neighbours. Okay.
And there's one in Sydney called Home and Away.
Home and Away.
Yeah. And so I was in Sydney, so I wanted to get on Home and Away.
Okay.
And I saw the director of Home and Away was putting on an acting workshop. So I thought, I got to get to that workshop.
Right.
So I went to that workshop and I delivered a few scenes. So he obviously knew I could perform as an actor. About 3 days later, he rang me and he said, look, out of the blue, I don't know whether you do this or not, but do you think you could help me raise some money because I'm making a film?
So many people have their scripts.
Yeah. So I said, I didn't
to-
know how to do that, but
How did you do that?
This was the director of this TV show that I wanted to get on. I wasn't going to say no that I couldn't do it.
Of course, you were going to figure out
so
how
I said, funny you rang, because that's exactly what I can help you with. So having no idea how to do it, right?
But I'm going to do it.
Yeah, but I'm going to do it. And then I hung up the phone and I went, that's great. I'm now in with this guy, but it's not so good because I don't know what to do now.
So I've got to find out fast.
Yeah. So what I did was I rang him and I said, what is it? What is it you're trying to do? And I got to know him a little bit and we developed a bit of a friendship on it.
Right.
And he said, look, I can actually get the money from this government organisation in Australia, but to get it, I need a distributor in Europe. And I thought to myself, you know what? I met this guy at the Cannes Film Festival who's a distributor in Europe. I'm going to ring him up. He's in Holland. I'm going to ring him. So I rang him and I said, hey, look, I've got this friend in Australia. He's got this movie he wants to produce. He needs a distributor. Would you distribute it? And he said, look, send me through the pack and I'll have a look. So I sent him through the pack and he emailed me back and goes, yeah, we'll go on board as distributors.
Great, because you have to have a certain thing in the pack when you're going to,
To get the funding. So then I rang this guy and said, hey, I've got a distributor for you in Europe. And it was 2 days later or something,
my God. That's very quick.
Yeah, it was super quick. He lodged his application now with his European distributor in place.
Yes.
Got his funding.
Perfect.
Yeah. About 4 weeks later, my agent in Sydney rings me and goes, hey, did you audition for this show Home and Away? And I went, no. And he goes, well, you've just been cast in 8 episodes of it.
Oh.
So, yeah. So as a favour for helping him, he cast me in the show. So my company there, which is called Temple Productions, it started from that, where I'm now producing. There's only certain types of films I look at now. So I have the rights to do the funding for the story of how Motown started.
Nice.
So yeah, one of my friends here in Los Angeles. His father wrote the first hit song for Motown.
Excellent.
So we're telling his story.
Perfect.
And then I have the rights for the story of how the UFC started, which is the fighting. Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of guys who watch that one. Yeah,
it's got a huge audience. So I'm currently producing those shows, and that company has now it's got into a space, a very interesting space. Are you aware of what NFTs are?
NFT.
Non-fungible tokens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I now own part of an NFT platform.
Oh.
And what we're doing in that space is we're effectively creating what's called the metaverse, which is a bit of a buzzword at the moment.
So are you using Bitcoin and crypto or anything?
So my friend and I, we launched our own cryptocurrency about 6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, which that was a ride in itself.
I bet, because you have to get it on the index and it has to, oh my God.
Yeah.
Real regulations are
So we
fierce.
did like a 90-day fundraise, three months.
Good.
In the first 3 months, we raised $50,000.
Great.
On the last day, we raised $6 million.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was it blew our minds.
Wow.
Nothing. Like this.
Because someone saw that it was taking off.
People from everywhere. We didn't know that they were talking about it. So we had people from Japan and Europe and America and Australia.
Oh.
We got this $6 million in. So we used that $6 million then to build this new platform, which we're launching. And at the moment, we're launching some artists, painters, photographers, sports people, musicians, and some movies on that platform.
Excellent.
Yeah, and what that platform will do is, so let's say from an artist point of view, if you've painted a picture, we can create an NFT that represents that picture, and then we can also duplicate that NFT and then sell off the NFTs, right? So, and then with a film, how we do it with a film is if you, say a 90-minute movie.
Yeah, hour and a half, yeah.
We can create an NFT for each frame in that movie. So there's 132,000 frames in a 90-minute movie. We can sell each one of those as a token as well. And so this is the kind of whole new area that I'm getting into business, which is the financing and production of film and television, but also we're working with a number of sportsmen, like one of the guys. There's a rugby player back in Australia who, as a 17-year-old, the club that he'd been recruited by asked me would I mentor him a little bit. So I started mentoring him and gave him a job in one of my companies. And 7 years later, he's now the best rugby player in the world.
Oh, great.
By a long way.
Whoa.
So we're launching a series of rugby NFTs with him.
Great.
We're doing some in the US, we're doing it in the NFL and in college football as well. We're doing it with the Volleyball Association in the US as well. So that business, it's kind of like my fun business.
Ah,
So I've had this nice kind of mix of this very successful money business, but then I have my fun business, over here as well. And I mean,
and you're acting too.
I'm still acting. Yeah. I've had a lot of acting work lately, actually.
What kind of acting do you do? Do you do dramatic? Do you do commercial?
So I do, I mean, film, television, and commercials.
Okay, good.
But I mean, like, just to give you an idea of what I've done recently is I met this guy recently who he's a real redemption story. So he'd had a bit of a hard time. He did a bit of prison time, and then he's now a gospel rapper.
Oh my God!
So he recently shot a video for his latest song that he's releasing.
Yes.
So I was in the video, so the rap video.
Great.
I also recently got contacted by a company that I'd previously done some work for. This company, they do videos in the medical industry. So each time that they contact me, I have to assume a new ailment.
You're the sick person that they're curing.
Yeah, so this time it was diabetes type 2. So I had to, what happens is they have doctors, like real doctors, and it's all done by Zoom. The doctors will interview me, and then I have to act like I've got diabetes 2.
Right.
But I don't know I've got diabetes 2.
Okay.
And then they diagnose me.
Right.
And they use that as
the symptoms,
as a teaching tool for other doctors. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
We're running out of time now.
Okay.
Yes. We have 1 more minute.
Okay.
So I want to thank you so much for giving me all these great information about what you're doing, because they're projects that also interest me and a lot of other people. And it's also good to see someone just doing it.
Yeah.
Just saying, deciding, I'm going to do it and figuring it out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I think for me, I've always just thought I'm just an ordinary guy. But the difference is I'm an ordinary guy, but I'm doing extraordinary things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ordinary guys, it's people with purpose. That's why I always say you had a purpose, and you went and did it.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, just instead of saying I can't do it, just saying, like I said with that film producer, going, yes, I can raise your money.
Yes.
And then working out how to do it. Don't try and work out how to do it and then say yes. Just say yes. Jump in.
Absolutely.
You'll fail a lot, but you'll win a lot as well.
I love that. Thank you, and I hope everybody got this.